This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some important updates to share with you. So new economic data has just came out. I'll let you know how that affects you and the economy. And the Inflation Reduction Act, after it passed, Joe Manchin admits that it will not affect inflation anytime soon. Meanwhile, the economic advisor says that there will be tax raise for the average American. I'll play the video clip of what he says. New $750 checks are going out in one state, and another city is giving out 300 more stimulus checks there, and I'll give you some other more important updates as well. Hope you're having a terrific Thursday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below, and I'm giving $200 checks to my subscribers. Details down in the description below. So the economy takes center stage as Americans share their voting priorities ahead of midterms. So when it comes to the midterm elections coming up in November, Americans in several cities shared their top voting priorities leading into the midterm elections, with the majority citing the economy is their biggest concern. Number one is economy. The economy has got to turn around. I'm sure there are a lot of things in other people's minds, but it's the economy. So basically, after some surveys, the economy is the most important, and it might have been the most important for everybody, but now that the macro economy is affecting the micro economy and people's personal bank accounts and costs at the grocery store, at the pump, that's where it becomes a lot more important. In the past, the economy, whether it was up or down, it didn't really change the prices for food, gas, shelter, utilities. So I don't think people really cared about the economy so much, but now that it is directly affecting Americans, it's the most important piece on the ballot. Let me know your thoughts on that. Does the economy matter to you? Is it just the personal finance aspect of it? Let me know your thoughts. When it comes to economic data coming out, retail sales, little change in July amid fall in gas prices and drop in auto sales. So retail sales for July were flat compared with the estimate for a 0.1% gain. Excluding auto sales, sales increased 0.4% against expectations for no gain, and falling fuel prices held back receipts at gas stations while consumers took savings and spent at other retailers. So retail sales, not much change there. It's not bad news, it's not good news, and it's, retail sales, since our economy is 70% consumer based, it does make a difference, but hasn't really changed much there. And then Joe Manchin admits Inflation Reduction Act won't tame inflation for Americans anytime soon. So after President Biden signed the Inflation Reduction Act that would take some time before investments brought down prices nationwide, Joe Manchin admitted that the Inflation Reduction Act won't immediately temper inflation, telling reporters that the necessary investments needed to bring down prices would take some time. So I think a lot of people saw this coming, that the Inflation Reduction Act, despite the name, if you watch this channel, I'm sure you learned a lot more about the Inflation Reduction Act compared to watching it on the news. Get really into the nitty-gritty here. Joe Manchin said, well, immediately it's not. Or actually, sorry. A reporter asked, it won't make everyday goods less expensive. And why wouldn't it? And Joe Manchin said, well, immediately it's not. We've never said anything would happen immediately, like turn the switch on and off. Yeah, so Joe Manchin admitted that. Also, another myth is that the Inflation Reduction Act is going to raise taxes, but U.S. economy faces a lot of uncertainty in coming year, White House Brian Dees, economic advisor, says. So despite everything that happened with the Inflation Reduction Act, there's still uncertainty. Still don't know what's going to happen with inflation. Could go up a lot, could go down a lot, could stay the same. Take a look at what Brian Dees has to say about the economy coming up.
So what does the legislation mean in the short term? Because some of the drug price controls, as you know, will not be felt until 2026 and only for senior citizens on Medicare because of compromises that had to be made in a 50-50 Senate to get it through. So we're aware of just what a tightrope you were all walking. But where do you think the inflation impact will be?
Well, this bill will have immediate impact for the American people, and it will also take on some of the longer-term economic issues that we have never really fully taken on in this country. In terms of the immediate impact, this fall, there'll be 13 million Americans who will see lower health care premiums as a result of this bill. That means concrete savings for people and also the peace of mind that they'll be able to continue to afford health insurance. Starting at the beginning of next year, will begin implementing a $2,000 out-of-pocket cap on prescription drug costs for those people who are in Medicare, which is a huge savings, particularly for people who have chronic conditions like cancer. And as you said, across time, Medicare negotiating for better prescription drug prices will benefit the federal government with lower costs to Medicare, but also people as well. But also immediately, and this is often overlooked, the tax credits, consumer tax credits for energy efficiency and clean energy, many of them are in place as of enactment when the president signs this bill. So that means that a family who's thinking, who needs to upgrade their heating system or their air conditioning or their appliances, those are costs that everybody has to do. This bill will give people a tax credit that will make those cheaper. And also to put in energy efficient appliances or energy efficient heating, that means they'll pay less on their utility bills going forward as well. Those are benefits that people are going to start to see immediately.
Now, so why does the Congressional Budget Office, which is bipartisan, estimate that the proposal is only going to change the inflation rate by less than 0.1% over the next 2 years in either direction?
Well, look, you've seen a lot of economists, a lot of experts, former Treasury secretaries of both political parties, and economists, including those who have been critical of us in the past, say that this is the most meaningful step that Congress and the president can take to try to reduce price pressures in the economy. And the principal driver behind that is that it's reducing the deficit. So it's complementary to what the Federal Reserve is trying to do, at the same time that it's actually providing those direct savings to consumers. And so, look, there are different models that show different magnitudes of impact. But one place I would say that I think most models underestimate is on the energy side. This bill will increase supply of energy, more affordable energy in the United States. And the easing of price pressures that will happen in the economy when we have more secure supply, more reliable supply, and lower cost supply of energy, that filters through not only to household balance sheets, but for companies and investment, our industrial production in the United States. So this bill is doing the sensible long-term reforms that we need, like on energy and prescription drugs, but in a way that moves us in the right direction on inflation in the short term as well.
And as you point out, one of the biggest achievements is on climate change. It's expected to reduce carbon emissions by 40% by 2030. So that is a big achievement considering where we were. So tell us about the incentives, though, to get people to switch to electric vehicles. How quickly do you think that can be accomplished?
Sure. So with the passage of this bill, when the president signs it into law today, the United States will, for the first time ever, be able to say that we can confidently meet our climate goals through 2030 and beyond. And we can do it in a way that increases energy security with more secure, reliable supply here at home. That's a big deal. It's a big deal for the country and for American families, but it's also a big deal for the world and our ability to lead on this critical issue internationally as well. And the way that we do that is to provide long-term technology-neutral incentives to make sure that we're generating more clean energy, but also the innovations behind that clean energy here in America. And that's where the electric vehicles issue comes in place. This bill provides incentives for electric vehicles, but importantly for the production, the manufacturing, and the manufacturing of those batteries that go into those vehicles happening here in the United States and with secure supply chains where we're not reliant on countries that don't share our values across time. That's going to set a high bar for American companies, but our goal is to set a high bar and to say, if you want those tax credits, you need to work to try to build more secure supply chains, and that's something that we're going to work closely with the industry on in the coming years.
Now, a big part of the taxes that were originally in the bill were compromised out because of Senator Sinema. The legislation doesn't have everything that was originally proposed. Senator Sinema was able to remove the carried interest tax provision, and then in the final day of the vote, a controversial tax break that benefits private equity managers, as well as the requirement that private equity partners pay the 15% corporate, not pay the, rather the 15% corporate income tax. So do you think the U.S. is ever going to be able to beat back those lobbyists and campaign contributors who clearly, got to the Arizona senator at a key moment, and she had all the leverage?
I think the answer to that is yes. Look, you see in this bill that areas where For years, people have said that special interests in Washington would always win and that there would never be any progress. You see historic progress in this context. Prescription drug negotiation for the first time ever. Climate legislation at a scale of ambition that we've never done before while investing in energy security. All of these are areas where we have been told in Washington consistently that the special interests would always win out. Is this bill perfect? No. We have more work to do. Certainly carried interest is something that the president is committed to fixing and solving and will stay at it. But on the tax side, what is in this bill is quite significant. We will, for the first time, have a corporate minimum tax that makes sure that companies have to pay 15% of their income and the income that they report to Wall Street investors in tax. And so that the days when companies can say that they've made large profits but then end up paying nothing in tax because of complicated accounting rules, those are going to be over as a result of this 15% minimum tax. That's a big step forward, and we're going to make a historic investment in the IRS to make sure that the wealthiest Americans that use complicated accounting and lawyering techniques to avoid paying taxes, that we're going to crack down on that as well. And I want to add, we're doing all of that, notwithstanding some of the misinformation that's out there, we're doing all of that without raising taxes at all on anybody making less than $400,000 a year. As you know, that was a commitment that the president made, and he's making good on that commitment with this legislation.
What are your thoughts on what Brian Dees has to say? Is there still uncertainty? Do you believe him that we will not get taxed? Let me know your thoughts on that. When it comes to stimulus news, Kemp of Georgia, Kemp slammed federal stimulus, but he's using it now to help win re-election. So, Georgia Governor Kemp up for re-election coming up, and he's actually just announced the other day that there will be $350 stimulus checks, and it could win him the re-election. I worked in Georgia before, promising the $2,000 stimulus checks. That's what got Georgia Senate seats in the Georgia runoff race. Can it happen again? So yeah, $350 checks going out there. And then Iowa City agrees to pay stimulus checks to 319 excluded workers. So what happened here is in Johnson County, Iowa City, they did a $3 million raffle for workers in the city, and there was still $700,000 left over and more than 300 people left out. So basically, they're giving the 319 people the $700,000 or a piece of it. And then when it comes to other stimulus going out, $750 Tabor refund checks on the way to Colorado taxpayers. So Tabor stands for, I actually forgot it on the spot, tax. All right, let me see if I could find it. But yeah, so anyways, Colorado taxpayers will soon receive at least $750 in the mail from the taxpayers' bill of rights refund sent out on Monday. Oh man, where is it? But yeah, so anyways, $750 checks going out to Coloradoans, and if you did not file your taxes by June 30th, what it's saying here is that you could still have a chance to get the $750 check, but you would have to file your taxes by October 17th, and you wouldn't get your check until January. Yeah, if you file it late. $1,500 for joint filers. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
This is the tip of the day. I'm going to tell you one thing what you can feel. If you really want something, then be a survivor, some juice. Just kidding. Be a survivor and do whatever you want, because that when someone's here for you, you can always use some help. Anyways, bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your support. So yesterday, I was with the kids. Wife was working a 24-hour shift, and they just loved doing fight scenes from Pirates of the Caribbean. Take a look at this clip here of Bella and Kalea acting out a fight scene to the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack. It was pretty funny. But anyways, if you want to check out any of my other videos, my other channels, you can click right up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.